Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy here. For nerds, by nerds, hanging out with the crew.
Ryan.
Ted.
And first of all, if you haven't signed up for the Nerdarchy newsletter, what are you waiting for?
What are you doing?
Down in the description below, you'll find a link. Sign up. We'll find out ways to game with Nerdarchy. We're getting ready to start that real soon. In the meantime, let's get on with our GM 911. Kyle S. wants to know, he's about to start his first campaign. He's excited. He's been working on it for a while. He really likes the idea of how Scott Garibay hands out XP like it's candy.
Like a gumball machine, you put your quarter in, you get the level.
But he also wants to know is, like, how do I take this game, into the epic levels, like 40th level? How do I keep it going?
How do I sustain it?
And keep challenging my players?
And how do I manage that with it being my first campaign? Oh, and also, Kyle, it was nice meeting you at South Jersey Geek Fest. So, hey, man. How's it going?
I didn't see you. I didn't see any pictures. It didn't happen.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll first start off saying, you're if you're looking into going into your first campaign and you're considering, jumping right into, epic level situations, I would say pull back on the reins, slow down. There's plenty of enjoyment at low levels, and while yes, there is definitely fun and exciting ways of doing the Garibay thing of gaining a level or two every single session. Talk to your group and find out, what they're interested in, and make sure you can be able to handle a game. Make sure you can be able to handle running an ongoing story arc before you're planning this, major course of 40 levels.
Scott's been running games for decades. So so it's just going to be a lot more for you to take on because the hard part you'll find out. This is what I found with 3rd edition. It was so hard to challenge my players. Once the power creep got in and they started leveling. Once you get over 10th level, your characters have so many capabilities that this edition they reined it in a bit. But before, it was just what the F do I do that, my character... It's either going to, could either kill my party outright, or they're going to walk through it. And it's a hard balance to hit that seesaw in earlier editions. This edition has helped against that, but it's almost like you're almost asking to invite back some of that chaos that was in previous editions.
So, now the only thing I'm going to say is if you want to go down this course, I'm not going to try and dissuade you, but start at first level. And if you want to increase the levels by 2s... go for it.
Or every other session, you give them a level type of deal like that.
Yeah, well, he wants the expedient level gain. So when you're going to give out your levels, if you want to do it by 2s, fine. But start at level 1, so you have some sort of progression. You're
some familiarity for yourself, even.
Just to kind of start getting a feel for it.
Building encounters and things like that.
Yeah, you're going to need practice from encounter level 1 on up. And again It's an undertaking. You're probably going to screw things up. It's okay. It's just a game. It doesn't matter. As long as you guys are having fun.
Yeah.
When things are too easy for players, I don't really find that it detracts from the fun for them so much. Killing them, they kind of get miffed about that.
Especially if they really like the character.
Yeah. But the crux of the matter is how do you challenge the players at the higher levels, right?
If he's somehow making them 40th level, which means you're giving out the epic level boons, to really account for that.
Or it sounds like he might just want to continue with the leveling. And because he also talked about letting the multi-class, and right. he's like, why not? Take all these different things, which you can do. It's fine.
Man, there's so many choices even as a player by that point that you might be if you doubled up on 20th levels, 2 20th level spellcasting classes, all the spell options you have.
Yeah, that would be a lot.
Yeah, and also too, the way concentration work, it's not like it really helps you that much. You may as well only have one spellcasting class because you can only be concentrating on one spell at a time. So what are you going to really get out of that? But when you go 2020,
there's a handful of spells that don't require concentration.
You'd have to find all.
That's it. You start mixing and matching, and you're spiritual weapon, flame shield, mage armor. You start figuring out what you can actually stack on. So. There's that, but here's what I found with 5th edition. I've heard it said that it's, the combats are a slogfest at higher levels, and it's hard to challenge the players. I've run 2 higher level games, and most of the encountered monsters I used were CR3 or less. So I'm using 11 CRs below what it says is
would be a suitable challenge.
And And the combats, the players. So they weren't hard combats, but the players took damage, or there was at least some element of challenge. And it wasn't like they weren't there in third edition. They wouldn't even existed.
So I mean, I would also say too, though, that like we don't Monty Hall our campaigns. We tend to go to the lower end of what's given out for items and stuff like that. So comparatively, like that Witch Hunter game with that specific thing you're talking about, like everybody probably had relatively low ACs, so those lower CR monsters were much more of a challenge. Whereas if somebody's like giving all kinds of crazy loot to their party, like that encounter might not have been challenging at all.
If you got +3 plate mail and a +3 shield, you're
unhittable to the zombies at that point.
You're looking at a massive armor class. So
yeah.
So what is that armor class?
26.
26. Yeah. So that's another thing. It's like if you want to run that game and you want to kind of ease into it, don't give out a lot of magical loot.
Especially when like they're so powerful personally, and that's what this edition is about. Like Bounded Accuracy is about your character being very competent and capable, not the stuff that they have like third edition. That's why you can only attune 3 magic items. Like you really have to choose. These are the things that are most important for my character to have.
Try and make, like, if you're in that kind of game, try and make the magic items you give out more meaningful. Than plentiful.
You're right.
And also try and link the stuff to story and have cool lore evolved around it. So like you want to like put things in the game that create this story element where the character really has to decide whether they want to get rid of this item for something better or keep it. Where like the player is agonizing over
the sentimental
choice.
Value of it, even than the game statistic, or like maybe even after they do it, they don't just outright sell it. Like it's on the mantle in their like wall or their keep or whatever, because they still like honor and respect it because the story behind it was so cool. Yeah.
So they're all things to take into consideration. Again, like for the actual game crunch, increasing the difficulty, you can just up the monsters. You can make them a little more stronger. You can add a couple points to their armor class and give them more hit points or higher damage.
When you ran the Witch Hunter game, you took, the zombie, was it the ogre zombie?
Took the ogre zombie,
and then you added the mummy damage.
Yeah, so like I bashed together like the mummy and the ogre zombie, and the mummy's a CR3, and I didn't even take like the more
powers.
Yeah, I didn't take all of their stuff for it either. So
you squish them together, and then you just put enough of them out there that if we would have just sat back and fought them, we would have died in that first encounter.
Yeah, well, that encounter wasn't about that, so they just would have kept coming.
Well, but
yes,
and that's what the
so
point
other
was.
other challenges. Absolutely.
If you take that as an example and you present a situation that it looks like combat,
but they have other problems to solve.
But if they have something else to solve in the middle of that combat, you present them with here's an endless physical challenge. If you can't figure out a way of dealing with this, and that's gonna...
The numbers are going to drag you down eventually. Like, ultimately. Because this edition, like, allows for that. And also, too, so you talked about the idea of his party just being able to handily, by 40th level, just handily slaughter a dragon. So what you do is, one dragon isn't a challenge, but 2 dragons. You do situations where you have, like, dragons, like, you can kind of create a comical moment where they're tug-of-warring, like, with the party members, like, one's biting on. Or the dragons are kind of fighting over getting to eat the party.
Well,
you slap a death knight on a dragon, right, or something.
You have to really figure out, like, okay, once you've gotten to 20th level, like, typically that's where your epic level, you are entering into the realm
of the gods.
Stuff of the gods. So go into hell, go into the heavens, have something where you are removed from the reality that they're used to, where you could literally put, here is a zombie, this would be normally a challenge, half, and it's got the statistics of more powerful monsters, so that...
Well, I mean, they're on the negative plane, and it's a souped-up zombie because it's a zombie on the negative plane.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have something where visually it's something that they're familiar with, but it's so far above the caliber that they're used to that they have to begin rethinking their thought patterns of how they deal with adventures, because I'm a god where I'm from because I'm a 20th level adventurer, and now I'm somewhere else.
Take them out of their element.
Yes.
Also, too, another idea, maybe so you put them on other planes or whatever, or spaces that they have to go through where, like, maybe just going through that space literally just is damage because you're like in the fire plane. If you don't have like a resist elements situation,
or you need to allocate resources
to be able to deal with that, or
Yeah.
you're just taking damage, or like you're in a room that it's so permeated with negative energy that the undead you're fighting in are bolstered, and unless you have something to resist the necrotic energies of it, you're just taking damage every round, and you're fighting a weaker foe, but that damage is going to tax you, and you have to figure a way out of that. Like maybe you have to fight a running battle because there's a horde of undead, and you have to keep moving through and clear them.
Yeah, like, so, and then the other thing is, like, I want to go back to swooping up monsters. Like, you want to do it in interesting and meaningful ways that just doesn't prolong the fight.
Yeah.
Like, my objective is never to, like, create a monster that just prolongs the fight. I want to make the fight more interesting. So, like, if, let's take the Red Dragon, for example, all right? So maybe, like, you decide to create an Elder Ancient Red Dragon. Well, maybe it has stats are a little bit higher. It does more damage. Its armor, therefore, its armor class is higher. Its breath weapon is bigger. But do you really need to double the hit points that are already really high? Maybe not. You know what I mean?
You could take the hit points because like the hit points out of the book, they give you like the median. Just give them max.
Mm.
Yeah, but I don't like just adding more hit points unless the players are really doing that much damage.
When I ran I meant to do it as a series and it just schedule got away from me. But the Enter the Dragon Hunter League, like they were really mowing through the damage on my Ancient Black, and I did a lot of these cool tricks and things to slow them down, but the 18th level barbarian, I think he was. I mean, he was shelling out so much damage, it was just ridiculous.
Pro GM tip, right? Here it is. Behind the other side of the screen, the players don't know what the fucking hit point total of the monster is. Like, yeah, out of the book, it could be this amount, but your dragon, you want it around for another round or two, let it be around for another round or two, and then describe it dying when you want it to die. Like, I mean, if you want it to have some interesting effects and to have done some stuff, like, what your players don't know, and if it's still a fun game, doesn't hurt them at all. So, there's that.
The illusion.
The
grand illusion.
Yeah,
of
exactly.
GM.
Like, just still give them a cool, like, death scene for the dragon and how they vanquished it and conquered it and all. But if you wanted it to be a little bit more of a drain on the party, then just do it.
So I feel like that technique is good and works, but it has to be used sparingly.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want
a big marquee encounter is something where, like, yeah, I want this thing to be around for a round or two.
Something like a dragon, I definitely see that.
Or a god, or a great demon, or
something that is going to be a mile marker for the players.
Your big bad.
Hey, you're gonna fight a chimera, and then you're gonna fight a displacer beast, and then you're gonna fight this other thing here. Don't do it all the time. It's meaningless then.
If you do it during every big bad battle, like, your players are like, oh, there's no point in really doing anything cool or using my big stuff because it's only round 1 or 2. I know the GM says this monster has to last for 4 rounds, so you don't want to be formulaic with it.
Right. I mean, you want like encounters to last at least 2 or 3 rounds, like to get the mileage out of the monsters. Like that's, I mean, sometimes you change it up and have an encounter that like drops in 1 round, and that's fine too. So definitely mix and match how that's going to play out. But I mean, honestly, if you do it like in an entertaining way, I don't think your players are even going to be calling that into question, really. Like, if they just had fun in the fight, it doesn't matter. I don't think anybody's doing
every once in a
bullshit.
while I just give it to them. If they do something and it just trashes the monster the first round,
sure,
like, it was your big bad encounter.
Sure, if somebody's got access to like banishment and it's a demon and it works because that happened in the Spelljammer game, great, let it happen. That works too because those 2 circumstances definitely lined up. You're talking about a warlock character that has a sparse amount of spells, and he allocated one of those spells to having banishment. All right, that's fine. It just time and circumstances worked out for you.
Right. I'm just saying mix and match. That's all. To keep it more, the overall game will be more enjoyable if you do that.
The illusion of everything your player is doing mattering, and but sometimes it might not.
That's exactly
sometimes.
It fosters. If you mix and match like that, it fosters the illusion.
Yeah.
So I hope we gave you enough to delve into this game. It's challenging. It's ambitious. Good luck with it, Kyle. Have fun with it, and you know what? If it's not working for you, just peel it back, and just slow down.
And let us know once you started.
Yeah, how it's
going.
turning out for sure. What kind of characters people made, any cool stuff that happened. That'd be cool to hear about.
with that, you guys, or you can like, share, subscribe, and let Kyle know in the comments below what you think.
You can check us out over on nerdarchy.com.
And while you're there, you can come check out our forum.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.